All right, guys, it's that time again. Step in the ring with the greatest faction in podcast history, Just Freaking Wrestling, the JFW podcast. And I I have the opportunity to do something that I've been actually hoping to do for quite some time. I get to sit down and I get to have a conversation with the one, the only, the urban sensation, C Red. And I'm hoping, C Red, that I do this well. I know luckily we have a truce between the Power Hour and the JFW, so I know if this is bad, I'm not going to hear anything negative from Steve, or maybe I will. I really don't know. Steve
I
seems
didn't. I didn't even tell him I was doing it. So
well. That's good. It's a nice little surprise for him. It's surprising to me. I mean, obviously, I can't say surprising because Steve did give you an appreciation night, so I can't say I'm surprised Steve hasn't done this yet. But in a way, he kind of did. He gave you an appreciation night, and he also gave you he called it like a roast, but it wasn't really a roast because I don't know many people that can say a lot of negative things about you, man, because you are one of the good people. Even when you're a heel, you're one of the good people in this business.
well,
That's
I tried. I just I believe in just being me,
mhm.
and good, bad, or indifferent. Not saying that I'm perfect because I'm way far from it.
Yeah.
But I just know that you still treat people how you want to be treated. So regardless, whether baby or heel, I treat people with the same respect that they treat me. Now, if you f me over, yeah, then we got a problem. You know.
Yeah.
So
No, and honestly, I think that's the best way to live. Really, is like it's you put out into the world what you expect from it. Um, well, so I want to talk about your career. I want to talk about the creation of C Red and the journey that you have in your life. I've heard bits and pieces of it, and I've heard you talk about where you've been, what you've done through listening to the Power Hour. Obviously, the stories you have shared when Paulie Tomaselli is on, or I guess just really like any guest you have on. And it's weird because I had the same feeling when I talked to like Hunter Payne, Terry Allen, Ivan Manson. It's this when guys like you, the ones who have been in this business for you're about what 21 years, 22 years now,
21.
21 years in this business, that the intertwining of all you guys, like no matter where you go, it's fantastic. Like there's a history you have 20 years ago that seems no different than the history you may have 5 6 years ago. I remember saying, not very well, by the way, but I remember trying to get the point across at your on location tribute show about how it seems like no matter what wrestling company I focused on through my indie adventures, the main constant was C-Red, New Breed Wrestling Alliance, Elite Pro Wrestling, Rocket Pro Wrestling, IPW. The constant is that C-Red is there. And it's because of who you are and what you have done to business that people know that if you want to find entertainment, you got to have C Red there. Whether it be managing Team Dammit, managing the Soul Touchers, commentating, alongside Steve, wrestling, battle royal rumbles for opportunities for championship matches, to wrestling friends, to teaming with friends, to wrestling, you know, workhorses. People know that if you put C Red on the card, it's a fantastic thing, and it's going to give your crowd an entertaining moment. And I want to start at the beginning and figure out where C Red came from. And I believe if I remember correctly, your training started with Windy City.
correct.
Okay. Um, when did you start with Windy City, and was C Red the character that you were given when you started in this business, or is this a self-created uh, name?
Okay, so we can go there. I I created C Red. See, this is the time I wish I could like show photos and
Mhm.
um so it was October uh 2002 or 3, one of the two.
Okay.
Um Me and Marche are right behind each other. And uh so to get the honest story, you got to back up.
Mhm.
So when I came home from the military in 1991 from Desert Storm, I was pretty jacked up, dude. Um, Suffering the loss of a child, um, being in a marriage I didn't want to be in because I really didn't love the woman. Um, Not the way you should love somebody you call your wife. Um, and she's a good person. Just my, I was selfish why I got married.
Mhm.
Um, so when I came home, uh, I suffered from PTSD, but there was no PTSD. You
Yeah.
know, uh, you you were just jacked up. So I turned to alcohol and I turned to drinking, and alcohol, drinking, and smoking marijuana when it was not legal. So that's what my life consisted of 7 days a week. Like, I had to be drunk, had to be high. Like, I didn't care if my daughters had Pampers. Like, I had to stay high.
Mhm.
Um, so one day, and it's funny because we kind of touched on this before we started recording. Um, I woke up one morning and I'm laying on the couch and I look in my wallet and I know I had just gotten paid the day before. And I am completely broke. Like, I think I've got $20 to my name. And I'm like, how the hell am I gonna make it to next week with
Yeah.
$20? Like, so I was like, God, you have to take this away, but you've got to replace it with something that I can do or something tangible. Because when you wake up, there's just empty bottles and leftover marijuana. At the time, we smoked blunts, so you got those put out in this ashtray. So like that's it.
Yeah.
Like I can't. That has no value. I'm like, God, you got to do something. So I didn't think anything about it. Um, then I watched Monday Night Raw a couple of days later. And that was the infamous Shawn Michaels turns on Marty Jannetty, throws him through the
Oh.
barbershop. Now, I had always been a wrestling fan, so I
Mhm.
knew who the Rockers were. I preferred them as the Midnight Rockers, but that was me. But to see Shawn throw Marty through the window, I was like, yes, this is the greatest thing ever. So my daughter's birthday was that coming weekend, and I needed to go buy her a toy. So Toys R Us. All right, let's go. All right. And I go into Toys R Us, and she's a girl, so I go down the Barbie section. Like, oh, okay. All right. I get the little Barbie doll. Okay, that's cute. Then I see there is a end cap with wrestlers. Wow, they make figures like this now? not knowing that I'm going to turn down the aisle and the entire aisle. One side is WWF, the other side is WCW. What the hell? I'm like, so I figured I'd start collecting figures.
Yeah.
So, so anyway, the day before my daughter's party, my then wife, first wife, runs into the house. There's some wrestlers at the bank. There's some wrestlers at the bank. What? Now, you tell me, wrestlers. I'm thinking Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels,
Yeah.
Undertaker. I'm like, why are they at the bank? She was like, oh, there's the bank is doing some big publicity thing, and they've got hot dogs and cotton candy, and they've got real wrestlers there. They're out there with their belts, and I'm like, load up the car. We're headed to the bank. Bank is like 45 seconds away. We get there. I meet Sam DeCero, Steve Boz, Mike Anthony, Terry Allen. Me and Terry are the same height. Me and Boz are the same height. Like Boz probably has me on an inch.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, these aren't fucking wrestlers. Like, so now I'm pissed because I done left comfort of home. But they've got their titles.
Hmm.
And I'm like, never heard of you guys before. Sam hands me a brochure, tells me about the school. The school's around the corner. I'm like, oh, okay. I open up the pamphlet. $5,000. Nope, I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm straight. I'm good. I don't want to be a wrestler. I'm good. Now I wanted to,
Yeah.
but not for $5,000.
Now, so the cost of the training, like, so you pay $5,000. Is that like you pay this and you're in training, or is that like a sign up fee, but you're still like monthly dues and all that? How did it work with Windy City?
So there were different prices that I
Hmm.
later found out.
Gotcha.
Uh, so I think the 5,000 that was on the brochure, if I'm correct, I've got one floating around this house somewhere, was probably a deterrent for people that wasn't serious.
Gotcha. So
Uh,
so more like if you're not going to take it serious, then sorry, unless you want to pay the
it
five
might
thousand
have been just
dollars.
20. It might have just been 2,500. But I
Still,
do
still,
know,
but in the '90s, that's a lot of money.
dude. So I do know when I eventually did sign
Mhm.
years later,
Yeah.
it was 500 down. You still had to pay uh, on your initial, contract,
Yeah.
and you've got to pay your monthly dues. So, uh, so a lot of months, Sam would get 140 out of me, 100 toward, the training, and 40 for the dues.
Gotcha.
The dues went toward using the facility. So the crazy part, when I came in, like using the facility, it was like, Sam, it's just a couple of beat up weight machines, like, and some free weights. Like, am I really paying? I'm not, not coming over here. I go to a gym. Um, so fast forward. So everything was over east, and I had met a guy. He owned a comic shop on 106, right off of Ewing.
Okay.
So I started hanging out over there. Um, and one night he was like, "Dude, what are you doing once we close the shop tonight?" So I'm just going home, not doing anything. He's like, there's a wrestling show up here at the park. Let's go. I was like, dude, I don't have any money. He was like, dude, I got 2 free tickets, dude. I was like, okay, let's go. I look at the tickets. It's Windy City Pro Wrestling. I'm like, wow. So went to that show. It was a TV taping. God, and it lasted from 7 that night to like 1 in the morning.
Oh, and
But
this is outdoors or was
no,
it?
it was
Okay,
inside Roland Park, and
gotcha.
so it was like, uh, but it was so different because to see a setup that small but yet
Mhm.
so big because they've got lights everywhere. They've got the TV crew. So everybody is running around with real cameras. And, it was like, what in the world? So I was hooked. The next weekend, they did a show outside uh, for a local church had bought a show. Uh, and when I say I got in everybody's face, I got in every. If you was a heel, I got in your face, and I'll never forget Ripper Manson. I was giving him and Psycho the business, like y'all suck, y'all ain't y'all ain't nothing. And Ripper was like, "Well, you're so tough. Come over here." Psycho. Hey, like man, dump that stuff on this side. I'm like, no, I ain't stupid. That's y'all side. You come on this side. I'm better on this side. So, like, I instantly remember just having that rapport, and then because I had my family with me,
Yeah.
and they enjoyed it. So then, like after the show, I took the girls because the wife wasn't into it like that. We went and stood by the locker room, and everybody signed the books and everything. So it was great. So fast forward a couple of more years, and I'm still thinking about it, but I'm like, at this time I'm getting older, a little bit heavier. I'm smoking cigarettes.
Mhm.
I'm like, I don't know. And then suddenly my daughter uh, asks me, well, Daddy, like we were talking about dreams. And I've always told my children, whatever your dream is, don't let anybody stop you from your dream. The you don't want to look back and say, I never did it. It's easy. It's better to say I tried versus I never did it.
Absolutely.
So, I'm giving them the daddy speech. And my daughter looks at me and says, well, Daddy, what was your dream? To be a pro wrestler. Well, did you do it? No. And I felt like such a hypocrite because I'm telling them to follow theirs and I never followed mine. So now I'm serious, right? So again, if anybody ever used to watch Windy City on cable, you see that number 976 WCPW. So I called. Hey Sam, I'd like to take a tour of the school, and uh, so I go see the school. I'm like, oh, okay, nice building. Uh, Again, the weights could be leave something to be desired, but it was such a, for me, iconic place because I had seen it on TV. So I'm in the actual studio, and I'm
Yeah.
like, wow. So, and I'm seeing all these pictures of, people like Paul Heyman, people like Christopher Daniels, you know, besides Steve Boz and Terry Allen and Ripper, guys that are walking past me. Like, okay. So again, $500. I ain't got $500. I'm sorry, Sam. So he's like, well, if you ever decide to come back, we're here. Okay, appreciate it. So I do research and I'm looking on the interweb, as they say. And I found this lucha guy. And he's like, he'll train me for free. Free? I can't beat free.
No, it's the best
Okay.
price in the world, really.
I'm like, tell me when and where. He said, meet me Friday at this park up north. Wear, sweats and gym shoes. Cool, great. Got off work. I'm on Lakeshore Drive. This is brutal. So it takes me an hour and a half to get there.
Yeah.
Finally get there. I don't know where to go. So I'm just standing really in the foyer. And he comes up and he was like, Sean? I'm like, yeah. He was like, all right, come on. And takes me into this room and it's just mats. Where's the ring? Where's the ropes? I wanted to be a pro wrestler. He's like, oh, no, no. You have to start on the mats first. I drove an hour and a half on a Friday. Did some bullshit. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I cut? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
So,
dude, it's fine.
so I made up some stupid lame excuse and I
Mhm.
got the hell up out of there and make that hour and a half drive back during rush hour,
Yeah.
which wound up being 2 hours. So now I'm pissed, right?
Mhm.
So a couple of weekends later, a friend of mine worked for the LWF. Um, and LWF was putting on a show that weekend. And he was like, hey, why don't you just go with me to the show? I said, okay, cool. He said, yeah, we'll probably meet some guys. I'll introduce you and you can talk to people. I was like, okay, great. So we go to the show and it's the infamous New Jack was the surprise. Like nobody knew New Jack was on the card. So to see New Jack, I lose my fucking mind. Like
Mhm.
I'm like, yes. Um, so show's over with, and he was my friend Jim, who I'm still great friends with, says let's go to the Bump Factory. That was their school.
Yeah.
He said everybody's heading back there, just gonna hang out and drink, And I was like, bro, I'm with you, so whatever you want to do, I would love to. So we go back to the Bump Factory, um, and this is my CM Punk story. Um, the truck comes in and somebody yells that your truck needs to be unloaded. And I'm like, hell, I'm just standing here. Like, you know, I can help unload the truck. It would be my first time touching a wrestling ring. So I was excited. So I did, right?
Mhm.
So I'm bringing in the mats and the wood. And when it got time to start bringing in bottom half, Punk comes out and goes off because there are guys who are just standing around drinking beer. And he's like, why is this guy that has nothing to do with this damn company sitting here busting his ass, bringing in the damn ring you just wrestled in? He said, hey, what's your name? I was like, Sean. He's like, Sean, put that shit down. If you drink, Go have a drink and just relax and chill out. And the rest of you motherfuckers, get that damn ring in here. And I was like stuck. And anybody who knows Punk, again, he doesn't drink, but he went and grabbed a beer from somebody, and because they had two, and handed it to me. And it was like, okay.
So it's kind of like that scene in Fast and the Furious when Dom took the beer from his buddy and gave it to what's his name? I can't remember the other main character, the one who passed away,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Nepal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it was something like that.
Okay.
And I was like, CM Punk for life. Fuck that. so, so talked to Billy Wack before we left. Um, and he was like, well, give me a call this week and I'll set you up a day you can come down and really check out the school once the ring. You know how Billy Wack talks,
Mhm.
once the ring is set up and, you can get the full ambiance of what we do here. And it was like, okay, great. So I call him up. He tells me to come down whatever day I went down. And Machine is in the ring with somebody. Full blown Machine in gear. And at that time, Machine wore a potato sack over his face.
Okay.
So I'm like, he is just beating the hell out of this kid. And I'm like, and Billy Wack is like, yeah, and that's our head trainer. He's Machine. Uh, okay. Fuck this. Like, that's how you train the people? I'm good. And I didn't tell him that, but I was like,
Mhm.
appreciate your time and I'll think about it. Huh, where's that Windy City brochure again? I need $500. Where am I getting $500? Um, so the crazy part by this time, I had started uh, my profession, my professional journey in special education.
Mhm.
But again, I still wasn't making a lot of money, and still
Yeah.
I had now remarried. You know, we have a house, so we got mortgage, we got car notes we got to pay. So it's like, whoop. I gotta be responsible, but I still ain't got $500. So I called my parents. Hey, I want to go to school, back to school, but there's a problem. I need $500. So my dad says, did you talk to your mother? Look, Daddy, I just need to know, can you help me out? Just come by here tomorrow. Okay. So I go by and he hands me a blank check and he signs. Saying, you fill out the rest. So in my head, I'm thinking, man, I can write this check for the whole amount. Like, okay. So instantly, that Saturday, I take it to Sam. I only wrote 500. So, but then it dawned on me. At that time, you wrote a check. The bank would then, once the bank got it and did what they did, they would send those return checks back to you.
Yeah.
That check is going to come back. and that check is gonna say Windy City Pro Wrestling. Oh shit! I better tell my parents. So, um, I told my dad.
Hmm.
I told my dad, um, and he was cool about it. You got to understand, my father used to be, God rest his soul, he was a professional boxer.
Okay.
So he hated wrestling. He hated wrestling with a passion because his biggest complaint was him as a boxer would have to like tape their hands, tape their wrists, and then wear gloves. You know, wrestlers go out there and don't, there's no safety precaution. Boxers have to put on a mouthpiece. Wrestlers didn't have to do that. So he was like, "Oh, it's fake." No, daddy, but okay. But I understood his point.
Yeah.
But he didn't shoot me down when I told him. So, uh, so I started in that October. My trainers were on Tuesday night. You know him as Hunter Payne, but him and his brother-in-law, uh, Abaddon, but now he goes by Austin Roberts.
Yep.
Uh,
Balthazar and Abaddon Nightbreed.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. Um, on Thursday nights it was Steve Boz, and on Saturdays it was Damian Dunn. Uh, but my very first practice, Hunter Payne, and this is why I respect they brought us in the right way. On the east side, everything is broke down into half blocks in a sense where it's 106th Street, 106th Place, you know.
Hmm.
So he was like, I want you guys to run 2 blocks and then come back. Now, run 2 blocks, that sounds easy, right? So you realize I'm running 4. And for somebody that was smoking, bruh, I was dead. So the like there were people Marco, Marco,
Yep.
Marco Marche, uh, their partner Isaias Velasquez, uh, me. Uh, I'm sure there was some other people there. Um, a lot of people didn't make it, but there was this one guy. Oh, I can't stand him to this day. And his name was Martin, a little Hispanic dude. And like I'm dead. Like I have no air. And I have 2 blocks coming back left. And dude, all I kept thinking about was, where's my car keys? Like I'm getting in my car. I quit. I'm done. And this is why I love Marche. Marche ran. Marche used to run track. So running those 4 blocks for him, which turned out to be 8, was nothing for him.
Yeah.
He was done, but he ran back and got me, like, and motivated me and kept me going. And shit, the last block carried me, like, so I wouldn't quit.
Hmm.
And it was like, and I'm older than Shay,
Yeah.
It's like, why does this kid care if I quit or not? You know what I'm saying? And it was like, wow. So from day one, Marche had my respect. So, um, so yeah, I loved my early training. Uh, so let's circle back around to C Red. So at the time, again, I was going to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
That's it. And you sit around for a few weeks, a few months, and you kind of figure out the situations, right? And I figured out that there have been guys there, like there have been one guy, he never trained. He only showed up for the meetings, but he always paid his dues. But he had been there for like 3 to 4 years. And it was like, why do you do that? Like,
Yeah.
do you just have $40 a month every month just to I didn't get it. But I saw other guys that had been there that long and they weren't ring ready.
Hmm.
And I saw people like Marche. Hell, he's been here 6, 7, 8 months. The dude is one of the best. He's better than some of these other cats that you already got in the ring. So I was like envious in a way because I wanted to be in the ring. Like
Yeah.
I did not want to wait.
Mhm. How old were you when you started training?
31, 32.
Okay, so kind of I guess it's very similar to like Diamond Dallas Page. I think he started training at like 35. Even though he was in the business, he really didn't start training for wrestling until about 35 years old.
Yeah,
And Marche's what at this time, age
18,
wise? 18. Okay, gotcha.
fresh out of high school.
Gee.
So I'm like, so you see the age difference already.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, and for me, that was also intimidating because not only was I way more heavier, but I still smoked. And I've got to go with these 18, 19-year olds, 20-year olds. They still got their metabolism and, you
Yeah.
know, whatever, they can eat 8 Big Macs and keep going. So it was like, oh no. So they're managed. So Marche, Marco, and Isaiah's were part of a group called Special Forces. It was
Okay.
like a army gimmick. Um, so the guy that was their manager, uh, he used to wrestle. He had stopped, became their manager. Um, but he stopped showing up. Like we have shows, he wouldn't be there. You know.
Mhm.
So it's like you're their manager, but you're not there. So Sam pulled me in the office one day and he was like, "You were in the army, weren't you?" I said, "Yes, sir." That I was Desert Storm. He was like, "What do you think about being the manager of the special forces?" Well, shit, Sam, I would love it. Like it's up my alley.
Mhm.
I'm like, I can be Sergeant Slaughter, but they were babies, so I'm like, I can be a much better Sergeant Slaughter.
Yeah.
So he was like, that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna uh staff sergeant somebody, drill sergeant. And I was like, cool. I said, Sam, I still got my uniform, still got my boots. The only thing I would need to go get is a drill sergeant cover and a whistle. And he was like, all right, well, I'll tell you when to go get that stuff. Okay. Next week passed. Sam, you want me to order this stuff now? I can go pick it up this weekend. No, no, no. Just hold on. Just hold on. Just hold on. Next week passed. Same shit. So I'm feeling I'm getting a runaround.
Yeah.
And my issue is I didn't bring you this idea. You brought it to me. So why are you being hesitant? Like either you're gonna let me do it or you're not. So we were getting ready for a show, outdoor show. It was the firemen around that area would always do a chili cook off, and so we would put on the show.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And
real quick. Was a lot of the Windy City shows, because like it seems like a common pattern is like outdoor, like it almost seems like, were these free shows that Windy City was putting on at these like events, or were they like these people were putting on like the chili cook off and call up Windy City like, hey, I want to pay you to come and do a show?
so I'm going to say
Yeah.
they were bought,
Okay.
but at that time I wasn't even getting paid. You know,
Gotcha.
when you're a rookie, your
Mm.
job is to show up, set up,
Yeah.
tear down, pray to God there's a battle royal. Like these guys now, dude, they would have quit. Like
Hmm.
there was no, oh well, you'll get a pre match. No, like
Yeah.
you host high voltage. We done Sam never did nothing like that. Like
No. Well,
no,
it's weird because like because when I was listening to you like talk about like your training and everything, because it's weird because when I think about like timelines and everything, like when you started training in Windy City and when I started in Elite Pro Wrestling, it's only like 6 or 7 years difference. But I was trained by my cousin Mike Nolan, who took what I'm guessing is LWF's way of training over there. So
right,
when I hear like Terry helping out at the SCW school, or hearing the stories about Windy City, it brings me back to 2008, Elite Pro Dojo, where you are told like get in the ring, get the bumping doing while you laying around, get to doing squats, get the burpees done, get outside, do some running, and especially like at the shows, you're not sitting around till everything's fucking done, and then once everything's done, okay, this is your job for tonight. You're running the camera, or you're doing security, you're taking tickets, you're doing 50-50. It's different nowadays. And I've had that conversation with Nubby, who went to Elite Pro Dojo with me, or some of the kids who are going through training now. It's like they're what they do now completely different than what happened in the early 2000s. And it's like you said, you'd be lucky if there was even a battle royal. Like I didn't stick around training as much as possible. I had to choose between working or doing wrestling, and I unfortunately had to choose work. I wish I didn't. I wish I stuck around, because by this time I would have been like a 15, 16 year vet, but wishful thinking. I wish I did, but to see them go through training now, it's like, I could do that. I could do today's training, because if I need to take a break, I could go take a break. Couldn't take a break back then.
oh hell no. Even
Yeah.
when uh Baltazar,
Mhm.
like let me just so instantly as soon as everybody got there and he got there, everybody ran.
Yeah.
By the time you came back, it was straight calisthenics. Now,
Mhm.
here's the issue. Whatever we did, we had to do together. If one person messed up, we had to start all over again.
Yeah.
And me and Marche tell the story. Um, so the guy that I don't like, honestly, um, Martin. So there was a thing where they would take about a 20-pound medicine ball and they would hold it over you. And your
Mhm.
job was to catch it while you lie on the ground and push it
Yeah.
instantly back up.
Yeah.
Like you can't hold it, just push it right back up.
Mhm.
So Abaddon is doing it, right? He's doing it on everybody. And we're so proud, right? Because everybody has figured it out. Just let it and go back up. And everybody that night was, we were on it. Perfect, right?
Mhm.
Till we get to Martin. And Martin literally just catches it and holds it and holds it. And we're like, what the fuck are you doing? And like, Abaddon is like, that's what he tells him. What the fuck are you doing? Push it back up.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, he couldn't even push it back up. So everybody had to do it again.
Yeah.
When I say we were pissed, we were so pissed.
Oh yeah, I know there were moments where people were unhappy with me. Like I mean, I've always been a big dude. I've gotten bigger since, the training days, but I've always been a big dude. So whenever we would do like squats, or I think there were moments even at like the shows beforehand where we would have to like put our hands behind our head and we would sidestep around the ring, and you can't pass the guy who's behind you, and this guy has to go around so many times before everyone's done, or everyone has to do squats and you have to do x amount of squats. But if you get your squats done before this guy, you can't stop until he gets to that number, because it's supposed to kind of teach you is you're all in this together. And it's like a whole, like, you're only as strong as your weakest link thing, and blah blah, and that should motivate you to tell this guy, hey, we got to do 100 squats, but I'm going to get through 200 before you get to 100. You need to speed up. You need to get going and stuff. And it it's a struggle, and yeah, it's like, not a lot of people could get through it. So it's just interesting because like hearing about, like, the Windy City way of doing it, it just reminds me of a lot of how early training used to be. It's like, man, it's just nuts to think like, yeah, I lived it, even though it was a brief period. I lived it, and sometimes people don't even believe it. It's like, well, no, there's no way. Obviously, they'll let you, go and grab water. I'm like, yeah, if you're near death, maybe. But if I'm seeing,
You got water breaks, but just sitting around and shooting
yeah,
this shit and hey, what did you do for work today or anything? Like, nah, bro,
mhm,
you were constantly moving, dude.
yeah,
And for us, like Sam's biggest rule was you didn't get in the ring if you didn't have wrestling boots.
mhm,
Wasn't no wrestling shoes. No, you had to have professional wrestling boots. And if you're just beginning, you don't what like it's not like you can go to Foot Locker. Hey, can I get a wrestling boot in a size 10? No, that shit didn't happen.
mhm.
You had to figure it out, you know. So I got my first pair from High Spots. Yeah, they sucked, of course, but
It was
I
something to get you started, though, right?
right,
Yeah.
right. I had to get started.
Yeah. Did he do that? Did he do that because wearing wrestling boots compared to wrestling shoes would give you more of a professional wrestling mentality, the look of what a professional wrestler should have?
Sam believed that everybody should look the part.
Yeah.
Everybody, and I understood what he was saying.
Yeah, I mean, it
I
makes sense. Yeah.
I agree. Um, you know, Now I understand uh, if you get somebody and they can't afford them at that moment,
Hmm.
but they're progressing to a state where hell, they need to be in the ring.
Yeah.
But again, you worked on basic stand up stuff outside the ring if you didn't have boots. So that would suck. And that
Hmm.
motivated you because you wanted to get in the ring. And it was like, okay, but I got my boots like in a week. I was like,
Yeah.
that's how bad I wanted it.
Mhm. I always trained in wrestling shoes. I've never once owned an actual pair of wrestling boots. Is there a feeling, like, is there a difference in the feel between the two, other than obviously, wrestling boots are like ankle high, or wrestling shoes are ankle high, while wrestling boots could be calf high or taller. But is there like a support difference or a feeling between the two, or not
There's
really
a
so
complete
much? There
difference.
is a complete difference. Okay.
And for me, um, because I've done both,
Yeah.
um, I feel like a wrestler lacing a pair of wrestling boots.
Hmm.
You know, like it to me, it's just my mentality. Like,
Yeah.
oh, uh, this coming Saturday for the Mr. Bill, you know, I'm
Mhm.
going to lace my boots up,
Yeah.
for a special cause, you know. Not, oh yeah, well I got my wrestling shoes and I'm just gonna nah,
Yeah.
Mr. Bill didn't have ass do anything, and I'm not gonna do anything half ass on his night.
Mhm.
Um, but to me, I just think it's a mental thing, and
Yeah.
the crazy part is, at one point, I started selling boots because,
Really.
yeah, because
Damn.
if we're getting new people in and
Hmm.
nobody knew where to buy boots, and Sam's rule is you can't get in the ring. I hooked up with this company, and so this was after High Spots because I hated the ones from High Spot. I was like, man, found this company, loved their boots. I was like, okay, well, here's my order, and started communicating back and forth with the guy. He's like, why don't you be a sales rep out there in Chicago? He said, for every pair of boots you sell, I give you $50. I was like, shit, that's easy money.
Hmm.
He said, if they buy the higher end boots, says I give you 75. So of course I'm pushing,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
the higher, you know, custom boots,
Yeah. We got to throw that. You really get what you pay for kind of concept at them.
right? Like,
Yeah.
man, you want to just have some basic black boots, man, or you can have the Eddie Guerreros, man. You got boots like Eddie Guerrero. You can have boots like Shawn Michaels. I know it's a little on the expensive side, but they're gonna last you a while, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. They're gonna make you stand out more too. You know.
so, um, so let's
Yeah.
rewind.
So you're waiting to hear back from Sam on being the drill sergeant, and so
Never,
you're waiting on that.
he never pulls the trigger.
Does he
And
ever say why, or did you ever ask her?
no, because my thing is, after I asked you about 2 or 3 times,
Yeah.
because I'm ready to go to the supply store, and like I got real bummed out.
Yeah. Was this a way to get you onto the show? Because I'm guessing as of right now you're not ring ready. Like you're still in training, but this is a way to get you on the show and get like your name out there because you're maybe close.
For me,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah, your perspective, yeah.
but from Sam, I don't know what Sam was thinking. Like, but I was like, I'm tired of loading up my family, being at whatever venue, unloading the ring, and like my very first event, uh, Reprimansa did this show every year, and this year they did a fest, and it was dog pouring rain,
Mhm.
and like we still had to set the ring up, and like it was my first battle royal. So my very first name, I paid homage to my father, so I called myself Love 'Em or Leave 'Em Johnny Young. So I've always loved Shawn Michaels, and then at the time he was doing, which is crazy. Let me show you, because my ex-wife just talked about them. So these aren't them, but I had ordered purple tights
Oh, that's awesome.
with hearts on them. So my very first outfit, I had purple tights with hearts on them, and I had matching purple gloves. Uh, and again, I was just trying to figure out who I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Um, but again, I'm ready, and by this time I'm discouraged because I'm like, Sam isn't like Sam's playing. Like,
Hmm.
Sam's not taking me seriously. So one of the guys I went to high school with was wrestling at Windy City. Uh, name's Dwayne Porter. He went by the name Cassius. He was in a tag team. The tag team split, and it was just him and his manager. But his manager started to go AWOL. Like, if I show up, I show up. If I don't, I don't, you know. So we started talking and hanging out. And he was like, why don't you be my manager? I said, can we do that? He said, why can't we?
Hmm.
He said, you want to manage? Because I realized if I can talk, I can get on the mic. If I get
Yeah.
on the mic, I can get in the ring. I can be seen. I can make an impact now
Yeah.
versus waiting, another year, year and a half to wrestle. Like, no, my time is now. So now I have to come up. What am I wearing? It's so crazy because I got all this stuff upstairs. Um, and at the time, and I still do it, I'm a Chicago stepper.
Yeah.
So um, I got so I had a red floor length coat. You've seen it. Two
Is
piece.
it is it the one that your action figure is wearing? Or is that a different one?
No, that's a different one.
Okay, gotcha, gotcha. Okay,
But the hat is the same hat.
okay.
The only difference is, and you know it if you see it, because I've got a picture of it. I'm bringing it to Mr. Bill show. Um, and it was like, okay, I've got the outfit.
Yeah.
Got a red suit, red hat. I've got a shirt, got a tie, shoes. Now, what do I call myself? Now, here's the story. Nobody ever knew why I called myself C Red. I had a uncle, God rest his soul, and we can say it now. He was a homosexual, so the family kind of like kept him at arm's length.
Okay.
But I always thought like he was cool, like he never had anything bad to say, and I could never understand why everybody was just. And it was like okay, and everybody would call him Chico Red. When my daddy felt like being bothered with him, he like Chico Red on the phone, and I'm like, okay, Red. Then I was a fan of the Five Heartbeats movie, and the villain in that movie called Big Red, and I'm like, okay, this red thing is being shown to me for some reason,
Yeah, yeah,
like, um, and it was just like, okay, what do I want people to remember? I want them to see red, but I didn't want to spell it like the
yeah.
Bulls, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, but if I just use the letter C,
Yeah.
because I've always been a fan of Prince, and a lot of people don't understand the way he wrote. He would use either symbols or a letter that said the word. So like
Hmm.
for I, he would write a I. He would draw a picture of an I. It's like what the like, okay, man's a genius, but that takes too long versus just I. Like,
Hmm.
and I was like, C, red. All right, so we got the name, got the outfit. Now we gotta show Sam, right? So we're at the show, everything's set up, and Cassius goes up to Sam. Hey Sam, Sean's gonna be my new manager. And Sam is like, all right, okay, whatever. That is that a yes or is that a no?
Right?
It's not telling me anything, right? So I reluctantly get dressed, right?
Mhm.
And as I'm getting dressed, Cassius's manager shows up. And I'm like, what the fuck?